if she try to rip, I got my Smith on my side. Word to God, here I come to make way. Rugged and raw, killing your set every day. Microphone check, 1, 2, here we go. And I'ma let you know who got the flow. Spitting my verbs like an automatic weapon. Suckers keep stepping, cause I'ma let you know.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Saturday, September 30th, the last day of September in 2023. And we hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Let's roll. Thank you, cuz. I appreciate it. Hope you have an amazing Saturday wherever in the world you are today. I'm sure it's somewhere amazing. I hope you guys are ready for a full show. Nonprofit Cheat Codes in full effect. Waiting for the team to jump on. They run in a little late sometimes, but I am in the building. Welcome to all of our friends on our multiple networks. We got LinkedIn Live, we got Facebook Live, live on X, formerly known as Twitter, and live on YouTube. And of course, our Clubhouse family is fully in the building. I hope everyone is having an amazing Saturday wherever you are. Drop in the chat where you're repping in from today. Wherever in the country that you're listening or watching in from, drop in the chat and rep your city. We'll get rolling momentarily, you guys. Good morning, Sophia. Good morning, Coach. I got to look at your full name down here, Coach. Coach Jamie, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Melvin. Good morning, Dr. Sheila. And good morning, Angela. That's a shout out to our Clubhouse crew so far. If you are on our live stream channels, make sure you drop in the chat if you are, where you're repping in from. What city, state, region, where around the world you're repping in from. We appreciate having you guys here. It means the most. And we got a really fun show for you guys today. You know, this is where we talk all things nonprofit. So this week, I'm going to come at you with an age-old question. Nonprofit or for-profit? What's the best for you? Nonprofit or for-profit? Is it about making money or is it about making a difference? I think you can do both, but we're going to talk about it today. A lot of the listeners and viewers that we've seen over the years often are torn between whether they should do a nonprofit or a for-profit. A lot of times people have nonprofits or for-profits, better yet, that are mission-focused. And sometimes people are torn whether they should just go straight 501c3 or if they should straight go LLC, DBA, or S or C Corp. And I want to tell you today, I think you got a whole lot of good options out there. And we're going to talk about some case studies and examples of organizations that are doing a tremendous job at both. So again, the question today is, are you going to go nonprofit or for-profit? Nonprofit versus for-profit. What's the best choice if you had to choose one? And I'm going to give you a little hint. I think there's a middle ground where you can find a middle ground and do both. All right. Tate represent the ATL Hotlanta in the building. Are you guys okay? Let me look down here, see where people are. Okay, we got Oklahoma in the building. We got Fayetteville, Georgia in the building. We got Columbus, Mississippi in the building. Happy to see you guys here. And we got what? I'm sorry. Melvin shouting out Nashville. That's right, Melvin. Rep your city, brother. I appreciate you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're going to get it rolling momentarily. So you guys ride with me as I get some more folks in the room, and then we'll jump it off completely. Good morning, all. As I said, please rep your city so we know where our reach is reaching. Where our reach in the scope of the people that come in the room is really amazing. Always really exciting to find out where we literally have had people from all over the world in this specific space. Nonprofit Cheat Codes is a place to build, grow, and share for nonprofits. And we've been doing it for about 2.5 years now. We're going to, no, actually it's more than 2.5. We're coming up on our 3rd year of doing Nonprofit Cheat Codes. We started on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is always going to be near and dear. And we consider Clubhouse to be home. But we're expanding our brand. Clubhouse has gone through some changes lately too. Clubhouse has changed some of the components, become in some ways more restrictive. And I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that are saying, they can't find rooms they've been a part of for several years now, or they can't find hosts or speakers that are normally very visible. So we're not going to let that slow us down. We are not going to be limited by any one platform, i.e., we're taking it to multiple platforms with our live stream, and we are excited to have you. Good morning, Lisa. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. I am well. How are you doing?
Lisa, I'm doing well. Always blessed, 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 blessed. Don't see it any other way. So how's Atlanta doing for you today, this week? How was it?
It was a very good week. It was busy with work, but all is well and very productive, which is what I like. It was very good.
Good stuff.
Thank you for asking.
Absolutely.
And welcome to everyone. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and welcome to everyone in the Clubhouse room and listening on other platforms as well. So good morning and happy Saturday.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa is so gracious. Literally always gracious and always meek, but a powerhouse, y'all. Don't sleep on her. So we got some other Atlanteans in the house today, Lisa. So we're shouting out to Atlanta, making sure you guys know that you are loved. We love all of our viewers and listeners, and we appreciate you guys being here again with us this morning. Lisa, today we're going to dive in deep to nonprofit versus for-profit. What are the pros and cons of each? What are the benefits of each? And can it be some middle ground, a marriage of the two, where a person could do a little bit of both? I hear it quite often that people are kind of torn with, they got this mission or vision or something that they're really focused on giving back, but they got to make a living. So where's that intersection happen? Where's that street kind of have a four-way, if you will? And I think that it can be done effectively. So we're going to jump in full-fledged here and chop it up. But we always like to start. Let me get this up real quick over here. You guys got to look at my deck really fast. We always chop it up and start with our weekly wins, and we'll do that today. And we mix it up a little bit, you guys. So this is definitely not your traditional everyday philanthropy pace or space. We bring a little hip hop to philanthropy, and I believe that it's going to take that for us to make the impact in our communities that we need to make. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Good morning, Mr. Moore. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Brother Shaw. Dude, the wife got me in lockdown somewhere, man. So if you're back down, know that it's the wife's fault.
No. I want to talk. Look, put Rachel on. Put her on.
I place blank.
Put Rochelle on and tell her you need to be on live stream with me too. Now you can't get people started on that fire and then lock them off like that, Gerald. Where you at? Where you at this
I'm gonna
morning?
be on live stream. I can't even tell you.
Okay, well I'm just saying now. Rochelle gonna have problems with the viewers and the listeners.
She got me in the mani-pedi spot, man.
Oh, must be nice.
Got me in the mani-pedi spot.
Oh, I see how you do, bro. You leave me on deck and you go get the pampering and all the love and good treatment. I see how we do. Okay, that's how we doing this morning, Gerald. Wow.
We supposed to been out of here.
Must be nice. Wow. Rochelle, I'm going to call you to the front of the classroom, or I'm going to call you to the front of the congregation here. All right. With that being said, let's kick off our wins of the week. Lisa, I'm going to let you kick off our wins of the week. What were your wins this week? Miss Tinsley, tell the crowd what it was.
Okay. Well, good morning. So good morning, Gerald. Glad to have you join us on your spa day.
Good morning,
Lisa. So my win was I launched an Instagram fundraiser, and so far I've received $100, and but looking to do more Instagram lives and just be a little bit more active on social media. With our using it as a fundraising tool. So we're off to a good start. I launched it on Wednesday, and so far I've received $100. So thank you.
Good stuff. Happy to hear that,
Lisa. Good job.
Lisa stepping her game up across the board as well. Mr. Moore, jump in here. What are your wins of the week besides you getting your pampering and whatnot done? Excuse me.
So win of the week, I went to my concussion therapy. And I basically passed all the concussion tests except one. So So I only have one more test to go that I will take next week, and I will be through with concussion therapy.
Well, that's
I went
awesome.
so I went to my other spine doctor, and they reviewed MRIs for me and said that the spacing in my disc has separated back to where they want to see them. And the only issues I'm really having with my back and spine is a little bit of inflammation around my spine. But they said I could go back to actually doing more consistent working out and getting myself back to where I used to be. So,
well, good stuff.
Good updates from the doctors, and yeah,
good report. That's good stuff, Gerald. We're happy. Gerald had an accident a little bit over a month ago, and you know how active Gerald tends to be. How much? 2 months?
Yeah, August 1st.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, in any regard, I'm super happy to see. Now, listen, on my perspective, I be seeing him from different angles. He ain't slow. He ain't slowed down, y'all. Anyway, but it is good to see that you're on the true mend and that those things are back in order. And I know concussions are a whole nother experience, you know, because they don't always manifest and look like what they may be affecting on the inside. So I'm really happy to hear that you're feeling better in that capacity.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good morning, Tiffany. How are you doing, Tiff? We're going to jump you right into weekly wins. Good to have you here this morning. Look at Tiffany coming in. Look, before 11:30. Let me find out.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
I'm here.
I'm so proud of Tiff, man.
Good morning. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Just be out there balling.
Look, hold on, Gerald.
I'm
balling on a budget. But balling on a budget. So come on, Tiff, give us these weekly wins. What are these weekly wins?
Well, my biggest win was I went to New Orleans this week for the Beyonce concert.
Oh,
yeah.
And she, I'm not in the Beehive, so this is actually my first Beyonce concert. My sister invited me. And I'm very impressed. The woman is the bomb.
Membership has privileges.
It is worth every penny. Like, if you haven't seen her, she's actually worth every penny. So it was great. And New Orleans was fabulous. The people are so friendly. And of course, you know the food. So that was my win. So I'm just trying to recover because I got home last night. So
look, we should be really proud that Tiffany's even in the room today. We appreciate you, Tiff. Thank you for bringing your presence upon. Well, I've heard the same thing. Gerald told me Gerald took his wife to the Beyonce concert, and I've gotten amazing reports. Lisa has done the Beyonce concert. I haven't had the pleasure yet, but I've heard amazing things, and I've heard it's like a visual spectacle. It's literally a visual experience, to say the least. So I'm happy you had that experience, Tiff. And the fact that you had it in New Orleans, man, is you sure you budgeting? I think you bossing, but I don't know about the budget with that one. That can't be on no budget.
It is what it is. It wasn't bad, actually. The tickets were better than DC prices. So
now, hold on. Did y'all hear that? I just want everybody to make special note. She didn't deny it. She didn't know, it was what it was.
The tickets really weren't bad. They were not what people were saying.
Must be nice. I can't wait till I grow up.
Trust me, I'm cheap because if she was talking about $400, $500, she would have been going by herself.
Wow. Well, it must be nice. I'm happy you had a good time, Tiff. You got to give us some insight throughout the show, some of the highlights, and see if what you thought was amazing goes in line with some of our other panelists here. So my wins of the week this week, good week this week, you guys. I've been having a productive last 60 days, really accomplishing a lot. And I'm telling you, we always joke here about Gerald being a networking master, but I'm gonna tell you now, I've been getting my network on. I'm coming, like I told you, my book is coming. My book is coming out at the end of the month, and it's called Stretch: Getting Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. And I tell you, I've been getting uncomfortable. I've been getting comfortable being uncomfortable, meaning I love to communicate with people. I love to interact with people, but I tend to be introverted most of the time. Except when I'm on stage. When I got to step up, I step up, but I like my individual one-to-one time. So I've been intentional. I've been very intentional about making sure that whatever room I'm in, I make sure that I try to meet at least 3 or 4 people intentionally. I got a real cool tip from a gentleman I met named Craig about a month ago, and he told me he tends to only carry 10 business cards no matter where he goes. And he said he does 10 because he likes to make meaningful engagements. And he says at 10, there probably will be at some point, some ROI. You're going to connect with that person again, as opposed to bringing 100 and it's just a numbers game. So I kind of took that as my own to say, you know what, that's a great perspective. I believe in quality over quantity because I think you kind of dilute your brand when you spread it too thin, too fast. But I've been being very, very intentional about making sure I'm doing better at networking. And I kind of live by a statement that when you show people that they matter, you matter a whole lot more to people. So you've heard me say it here. You'll hear me say it over and over again. The secret is really service. When we think about this room, nonprofit cheat codes, most people say, well, I don't have a nonprofit maybe, right? Maybe some people think I can't be here. I'm telling you, whether you have a 501c3 or you just got a mission or you just a person that loves to give back and make your community better, this is the right place for you because the secret is truly service. Find a way to serve. You will always win, right? When you help other people realize their dreams, I promise you it's the fastest track to get to yours. Because on a basic level, other people will start to buy in and believe in your brand stronger because you're showing them that you believe in theirs and you're helping them reach their metrics. So all that being said, one of my wins of the week this week was I launched what's going to come at the end of the month. It's my first official, if you would see me online, you see me do my air quotes, official event that I'm actually sponsoring in North Carolina. And it's going to be Brands and Brunch. And I haven't really solidified the name. I'm going to figure that out today. I got a couple good ideas. But what we're going to do is we're going to offer a in-person branding boot camp where we're actually going to invite people to the venue is amazing. We're on the top of a skyscraper in downtown Raleigh. It's the City Club. And you literally are on the top floor, the 28th floor or 28th, 29th floor of a skyscraper. And it's the most amazing view, in my opinion, of all of Raleigh. You get a panoramic view of the whole area because we're so high up. And we're going to provide brunch. We're going to provide a brand boot camp. We're going to provide headshots. And we're going to provide some swag from some local vendors that are all going to throw in. It's going to be an amazing event, and we're going to get it all done for under $100. And that's a mini commercial, but I'm just sharing because I'm really excited because, again, I'm getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and this is my kind of first face-to-face event that I'm sponsoring in my new home city of Raleigh, North Carolina, the Triangle area. And I'm super, super psyched about that because it's time to take the gloves off, y'all. We got to get it full. Look, and now, you know what would be amazing? If I could sponsor a couple of my crew here to come and see me face to face, since they ain't let me see them at other events.
I would come. You have a date?
I got a date. It's going to be either the 28th or the 21st. I'll solidify it for you by next week. But it's going to be a 3-hour event. It's going to be good networking. It's going to be amazing food. And I tell you, the environment is off the chain. And I will give all the details here next week. I'm still getting the contract solidified because I got to find out of the date I want. I want it to be the 28th. Of October. It's going to be a Saturday morning. Let's say Saturday 11 to 1 o'clock. But if I got some of my panel there, man, listen, that would be quite amazing.
I want to go.
All right. Now listen. Now I'm recording this. This is live now. If you tell me you want to go, I'm gonna make provisions to make sure you could be there because I think number one, it will be amazing to have some of our folks here there, literally, because some of us have never met face to face. Though we've talked to each other like dozens and dozens and dozens of times in multiple years now, some of us are still not met face to face. And it's so bizarre that we haven't met face to face. It's many times I've seen these folks through the screen. I feel like we're family. But in all that being said, those are my wins of the week. If you guys got wins of the week, raise your hand, come up. Sophia, I saw you raise your hand up earlier. You know I was doing the intro, so I apologize I didn't pull you up. If you are ready or willing to come back up and share your blessings, please do raise your hand and tell us about your wins of the week. Wins of the week are a real big deal here because wins of the week are those small little motivators that let other people know, push through, y'all. It's gonna get better. And if I can do it, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? If I can do it, or if someone else in the room could do it, you can do it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sophia is coming up to the stage. Sophia, how are you doing this morning? Welcome to Nonprofit Cheat Codes. Are you still on mute, Sophia? Come off mute.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm Sophia, and my nonprofit organization is Doing Impeccable Greatness, where we provide extracurricular activities
Awesome.
for former foster youth, and we provide fine and wine dining experiences, and we teach them the basic etiquette of table setting and table manners. So, my win for the week is that I just became a board member of Clayton County Library. So
Good
I'm
stuff.
like, what?
Holla.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good stuff. So what does that entail? How does that move the metric for you? What does that mean?
Well, I'm just hoping it just means that I will be meeting so many people, advertising my nonprofit, having it out there for everyone to see, out here in Clayton County and Georgia, period. I hope it has me connect with DFACS so I could be like a resource. So once the youth leave or children leave DFACS, I'm already a resource in place for them. So I just hope just open up many doors, different doors. I don't know. Whatever it brings, I'm taking it if it's all good.
Absolutely. And you got to set the stage for those things to come your way. So I appreciate that. And big up to you, Sophia. I'm glad to see you doing the work that has to be done because we know the work won't wait. So sound like you're doing big things in Georgia, and we're happy to hear that.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Absolutely. I'm glad to see you here. I haven't seen you in a little while, so it's always good to see our alum show up, and we appreciate you. I'm going to shout out the room real quick again. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Keisha. Good morning, Rasan. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, Leslie. Good to see you guys in the building. Listen, when I tell you we got the most loyal listeners, viewers, followers, I mean, and I'm not saying that lighthearted. I'm not just saying as a pat on the back. There are folks that show up every single Saturday, and I am humbled by it. I'm humbled, and I'm so appreciative to you guys, because you could be anywhere on a Saturday morning, but the fact that you show up to see little old us on a Saturday morning, we appreciate you guys. It means a lot, and it's also a reflection of the work, just a real microcosm of the work being done across this country. I think sometimes we don't give each other or ourselves the props for the work being done. There's so many unsung heroes across this across this country, in the world, but a country specifically, who are doing the business. What I'm saying, they're getting it done in their communities. It may not be a 501c3. It might be that person who picks the kids up to help some other parents out who may not have that transportation or may not have the availability. It may be the person who gives groceries to their local pantry or their local neighbor who's in need. Whatever you're doing to make a difference, big up to you. We really appreciate you guys. And let me just say this, we see you, right? We see you. Sometimes you need to know that you're being seen. It's not about giving people pats on the back always or trying to be noticed, but it's just sometimes it feels good to know that what you're contributing means something and it's making a difference. And sometimes we need to acknowledge people for that and give them their flowers. So I just want to give a shout out to our whole family here. If you have not, go up to the top of the screen there. If you're on Facebook, make sure you touch that Nonprofit Nation icon up there so you can join the family. And if you are not on Clubhouse, you're reaching us on our other channels, go to nonprofitcheatcodes.com and make sure you sign up so you can get all the information. We got some really amazing things coming up for the fall, and we are coming up on the celebration of our 3rd year, and I am so super stoked. Got some amazing guests that are coming through. I've been in the back with you guys really working on getting us some really and we got a dope team here, so let me take nothing from them at all. But we got some national contributors that are also going to be coming and being guests for you guys. I got a person in legal. I've been going back and forth with legal forever, but I got a person in legal that's going to come and share some best practices. I met a gentleman who is another brand or marketing specialist, and he's had clients that have been Apple and what do you say, Apple, and I forgot the other huge company. But we're going to talk about some different ways to really build your brand. So we got some good folks coming on that we're going to have a chance to build and share with, and hopefully bring you some new best practices in our practice. So today's show, just do a roundabout really quick. Today's show is really about what I call an age-old question, and it's whether to go nonprofit or for-profit. Nonprofit or for-profit. So many people that I talk to, and I talk to probably about 20 clients a week or somewhere in that range. And the question that I'll get from enthusiasts or people who will reach out in my inbox is, I don't know whether I should do a nonprofit or just keep a for-profit. It's a constant question. It's probably in that top 5 questions with grants, board formation, trying to get a building, is should I be a nonprofit or should I be a for-profit? And I'm sure the team here can relate or have heard these questions before. Some of our folks, our family, we consider you guys our family, are torn because you're working a full-time job and they're running a nonprofit at the same time. And they're trying to do this mission that is really connected to their heart. As we say, so many small nonprofits have a pain that turned into a passion that evolved into a purpose, right? So many people, that's how their nonprofit came about. They had a crisis or a tragedy or something that they went through, health, physical, financial, what have you. And that turns into them being an overcomer, right? Them being a survivor. And then they look back at their path and be like, wow, I actually made it. Thank God I made it. And they think, well, wow, if I could do it, maybe I can help someone else avoid some of the things that I had to go through. Maybe I can help someone with some of these tips and insights. And because of that, it makes them want to do and pay it forward. And I think that is one of the most amazing things in the world, to really want to give back. So with that being said, that's where this question spews from today. That's where this question kind of evolves from, to have a for-profit or nonprofit. And I want the panel to jump in knee deep on this one, because I believe it's a middle ground. And I got some of my own perspective, but I just want to throw it out there. I'm gonna hand off to you first, Tiff. Have you heard that question before? And what is the thing that keeps people kind of torn between it the most?
I think the biggest thing that people struggle with is the ownership piece and wanting to control the decision making for the nonprofit and wanting to not have a board. So that's the thing that kind of keeps them teetering on the line, is I lose control once I start appointing people to do the work alongside me, and they want it to be more one-sided. And I got a comment last week about, can I have a sole proprietor nonprofit? Which, no, you need a board. But there are some things that people try to do to make sure that they maintain control. But in my opinion, that's unhealthy, and that's a little toxic to do that. Yeah. So, and it kind of negates the reason of having a nonprofit. So if you want to control certain things, you need a different structure so that you can have the freedom to do what you want to do. But I think the biggest thing is ownership.
And again, Tiff, throw it out there, because people need to hear this often, because I don't think people always know this. You don't own your nonprofit. Your nonprofit is owned by the state, but you're the custodian of it. It could be your ideal, it could be your baby, but once you get that tax designation and you get those articles of incorporation, your nonprofit is not owned by you. You are the overseer of, for lack of better terms, I'm sorry, you guys, but you are the custodian of the nonprofit, but you don't own it. And a lot of people don't get that. So you got to be really mindful too. And I don't want to scare people away, because when I say this, people get, they get a little tense, but you don't even own the stuff you buy with your nonprofit. So Tiff, can you give a little insight, go a little deeper? And I say that because I know people get cautious. Well, I don't want it then. If I don't own it, it ain't mine.
Well, yeah. So most people who start their nonprofits start corporations. And so typically for-profit corporations will have like shareholders or people who have like an ownership stake, but you're a corporation, but you don't have an ownership stake. So whoever is currently in control of the nonprofit, which is the board at the time, makes decisions about what happens with the nonprofit. So they're the final say. So if you're not on the board, then you don't have any like say. And just because you're the founder, you don't have like a weighted opinion. Like your opinion matters more than everybody else. Because when you serve as a board of directors of a corporation, there are certain duties that you're responsible for. There's the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, and the duty of obligation. I always get the O right. I think that's right. I mean, I always get the O wrong. I hope that's right. But no, it's obedience. So the duty of loyalty means you're loyal to the interests of the organization. You're not loyal to any personal interest. So you have to remember that when you're making decisions, they're not to be made to be aligned only with your personal interests. Obviously, they are because you started it. It's your vision, and that's important too. So I'm not negating that or saying like, your mission or what you put into it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is legally, at the end of the day, you technically do not have any more rights than anybody else who's currently serving as the board member of your nonprofit.
And I think that's a huge distinction that people really need to get early, because it doesn't always, you're not always told that. This nonprofit, and I speak for myself, so let me not project on you guys, but that, well, I'll get my nonprofit, I'm gonna get these grants because I got my 501c3 now. And for me, well, I thought it was a magic wand. When that 501c3 came in the mail, which was really shocking because it came in about under 6 weeks, and I got the letter, and it was like, this is your designation, and I'm like, wow, it's here. But I thought immediately, like I was in the Charlie Chocolate Factory, that Willy Wonka, I thought this was my golden ticket. So I thought you kind of go out and find your ATM, and you put it in the ATM, and it was just going to spit out grant money. And it didn't quite work like that. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person that thought there was an automatic ticket to get grants, and it was nothing of the sort. I'm just hearing some people who started their nonprofit 3-4 years ago, 2 years ago, that are just starting to get their first grants. So going back to the ideal, nonprofit versus for-profit. Now, this is where we get into the woods a little bit. Meat isn't here yet because he's always the one that pulls me back. Because I'm probably a little bit more broad based with this. I believe you can find the middle ground, right? And I believe that the two can be married, not legally married, but shacking a little bit, where you can have your nonprofit and have your business, or vice versa, have your business that may be a client to your nonprofit in some cases. And I know you got to be very definitive. So Tiffany's going to slap my hand and pull me back a little bit. But what does that marriage look like, Tiff? Where is the middle ground? Because the question that I get all the time, the complaint I hear is, I am not able to make money, and I'm here to help people, but I'm not here necessarily to be broke. So what are some potential options? And I'm actually going to think out the box a little bit. If you have a business, but you also have a nonprofit, is there a middle ground in between that? And I refer to Tiffany because Tiffany is our resident nonprofit savant from starting from day one to get your nonprofit. So your insight on that would be, Tiff?
So I think the first option is to make money as a nonprofit and to be paid through your nonprofit. So you're not entitled to profits that are made to the nonprofit. You get paid as either an employee or a contractor of the organization. Now, there are a lot of caveats to this, but to keep it simple, if you, for example, are the executive director and the board decides your salary and your compensation package, then that's how you can get paid. But naturally, it takes a while to get to the point where you can make enough money where you can pay yourself a good salary, a reasonable salary for the work that you do. Mm-hmm. So that takes time. Another option is for you to not get paid for your nonprofit, but have a business on the side, which is what people do. Mm-hmm. And they raise money that way. Like they finance the work that they do that way, but they connect the two. So maybe, when you make money, you donate money to the nonprofit. But you gotta be really careful. Like if you're using your nonprofit to generate business for yourself, you're basically, the IRS may see that as you doing that to benefit. And no one is supposed to personally benefit, because of what their association with the nonprofit.
Hold one second, Tiff. Let me jump in here real quick. Now, that's where you guys hear why we call it nonprofit cheat codes, because she just dropped the first cheat code of the morning. Say that part one more time, Tiff, so people get it. I don't want nobody coming looking after me later. So I'm just saying, can you repeat that part one more time? I think that's a big deal.
you're not supposed to personally benefit from your nonprofit. Like, it's not supposed to be set up as a way to generate business for you
Right.
or generate business for yourself. Some people have approached me innocently, honestly, to say, I have this business that I do over here, and why can't I just hire myself as a nonprofit so that I can make money through my nonprofit? Like, that's easy. Okay, I don't want to get paid a salary, but I'll just hire myself. And you have to understand that's a conflict of interest if you're serving on the board, right? So you have to declare and disclose all of those conflicts, and those decisions have to be made independent of you to use you, because the IRS sees that as a benefit to you. And their question to you, in the most simplified way, like Amit can say this way more eloquently than me, but in the simplest way, you are getting off by not paying. And so when the IRS gets wind that you're making money personally, they feel like, oh, you may be using this as a tax shelter, or you may be using this as a way so you don't have to pay income tax on the for-profit side. So those are kind of things to pay attention to, and that's why you got to have certain protocols in place so you can justify to the IRS if they question how you set up certain business structures.
Now that might be a masterclass within itself, Tiff. That's real good stuff, because look, I'll be real with you guys. I had to take me a couple steps back, because that's why I'm tippy-toeing, because I know that Tiffany and Amit, not only, but specifically, are the experts when it comes to this conversation. And I think a lot of people, that what I took from that, I'm gonna mirror back what you said, Tiff. So it's not that it's illegal to contract at your LLC or your corporation to do some business, but you got to be very definitive, and there have to be some disclosures, because it cannot be the perception that you're benefiting from the nonprofit. And I'll paraphrase that it could be that you're benefiting from the state, or you're benefiting from the 501c3, which is a conflict of interest. So what are some things you've seen, Tiffany? Can you give us a little case study of examples you've seen where people have done it and not gotten in trouble, or not gotten in a kind of sticky situation?
So I'll say this: I don't like to speak in absolutes when it comes to this kind of stuff, because state law dictates a lot of this.
Right.
So to say it's not illegal may not be true in certain states. There may be state law that prohibits from doing something. So the first thing is, you got to know your state law. Like the IRS, yes, but most importantly, know the laws in your state and what you're able to do and not able to do, because there may be some limits there. But I mean, I've seen people who have a board member who's like a professional in their space, like a realtor or something, and they want to use their services because they trust that person, but the person's on the board, and that's a conflict. But they may decide as a board to move forward with that person because the person is not upcharging them, they're giving them a reasonable rate or even a discount, and because they trust them. But they, in a meeting, they discussed why they still decided to go that route and documented it.
Okay.
So I've seen that. That doesn't mean that what you do won't be questioned by the IRS or be questioned by your donors.
Okay.
So just because you do the right process doesn't mean that somebody may not have issue with it. The point is, you've done your due diligence and you're able to justify what you've done to show other people. So I think that's what's most important, because we could go through any scenario, and honestly, there are a lot of nonprofits that do what they want anyway. There are a lot of nonprofits who don't necessarily have to report what they do because they're very small, or they don't do it. And the mechanisms that the IRS has to track that is the 990. It just doesn't come up, right? Or they may not say it. So it's just real murky. So I would just say, like, because there's a lot of scrutiny on small nonprofits, new nonprofits, Black-led nonprofits, whatever, you just want to make sure you have your ducks in a row so that when people do come for you, you're ready.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Tiff. And I hear you when I say you tippy-toeing on that line, they're being very mindful. I appreciate it. But I think it's real conversation, because I think, unfortunately, there are probably a lot of us who are not in compliance or potentially bringing themselves to some liabilities eventually. And that's not saying that we are here to help not stop people that's going to not happen because we say something. But I think the conversation is a conversation that should be had, because where else are you going to get the information in a way that you can really hear it with real talk, not just legalese or not just hyperbole, but some real talk, because this is real stuff. There are people who are doing the due diligence and they're self-funding, and we know this is a real deal. They're self-funding and trying to run their home and trying to, take care of their expenses, and they really want to do this work. And I think it's so easy to get gray real fast, right? It's so easy to get murky real fast, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. But I think Tiffany, and I don't want to keep picking on you, Tiff, but I think you made the point that maybe it's better in some cases to make money with your for-profit and then donate that to a nonprofit, or do it that way first. What's your opinion on that? If you would be willing to share more.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think you also have to understand why you're doing a nonprofit and why you think the nonprofit structure is the best solution for what you're trying to accomplish. So I think before you decide anything, you got to know for yourself, what is my end goal and what am I willing to do to get to my end goal? Because some of what you want to do, if you go the nonprofit route, it's not going to get you what you want. Right? Like, you may be looking for something and you think that having 501c3 status gets you what you want. And it just could be honestly a waste of time.
Right.
And you can really just be doing great things or doing your co-drive or your turkey giveaway through a fiscal sponsor and not have to worry about any of this stuff,
right,
because you're using someone else's 501c3 status. So I think the first thing is just, what do you want and where do you want your interest to be? So I think that's just, you got to get that out the way. But if you want to run a for-profit and nonprofit, I mean, that's a lot.
Right.
But if that's what you want to do, sure. You do have to be careful. I feel like I give so many caveats, but I just like people to know, because these are things I had no clue about. I literally stumbled on this stuff like reading, or I'd be in a Facebook group and somebody would be talking about it while I was helping my partner launch his, and it was like, what is that? So one thing you have to be mindful of is what's called tipping. Now, it may not impact you if you're making less than $50,000, but you have to be mindful that if most of your money is coming from one source, after year 6, the IRS is going to be looking at that, asking questions about why you're not getting money from enough people.
Right.
And so, for example, if you get one big grant, and it's not a government grant, the IRS is going to be looking at that like, who's really running the show?
Right.
Is it the donor or is it the nonprofit? So if you don't have a lot of sources of income and it's not diversified, the IRS may flag that too and take your status. But that really matters for people who are making more than $50,000, because that's when you start reporting that kind of stuff, and it's after year 5 that it starts to happen. But you need to be mindful of that, because a lot of times around that time you get big grants. Around that time you've got your momentum, and all of a sudden you get a substantial grant, and it may affect your status. So I hope I didn't confuse people, but it's called tipping. So you just want to make sure you have multiple ways to make money: earning money, donors, grants, all different ways, so you don't have to run into these kind of problems. So I said all that to say, if your business is the sole source of money for your nonprofit, that's not a good precedent to have.
Gotcha.
You don't want to set it up where that's where all the money is coming from. You want to make sure you're getting it from other places too.
And good stuff, Tiffany. Thank you very much I felt like I got a little mini masterclass. I don't know about nobody else, and look,
I'm just sitting here with my notebook.
Right, Gerald. I'm saying the same thing. I'm typing on the screen. People can see me typing as I'm listening to Tiffany, but I mean, this is why we do what we do. And Tiffany, thank you for being here and for sharing so generously, because like Gerald said, I got my little notes app on the screen making notes as you're saying it. This is why we do what we do. And it's amazing to get this information completely for free, just because the people here want to see us grow and see us expand and reach more of our mission. And I'm not saying it with joking. I'm saying thank you so much for the clarity. And that's why I wanted to talk about this topic today, because and I use a little bit of comedy in my promos for today to say, choose one. I don't think you have to choose one, but you do have to be strategic in the capacity and the method that you choose. So, is a 501c3 the most appropriate choice, or is it that you should find another nonprofit and not combine, but support them? That can give you just as much. And I think this comes back to another question: what's your reasoning? Is it that you just want to make impact? Is it that you just want to help people in your community? Or is it that you want to get the notoriety? Is it that you think getting tax exempt status is something that you can leverage? And I'm not suggesting either. I'm just saying to you to be very definitive on why you want to have a nonprofit. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's an admirable thing. But I think it's something that you really need to know what you're getting into, because you don't want, listen, I'll tell you guys, fully transparent, that I've made enough mistakes in my 50 years that if you just follow my blueprint of what not to do, you'll probably be successful by default. I've had the state taxes knock at my door before. I've had to file bankruptcy in my life before. I've had non-compliance with the Department of Labor before. None of these things were nefarious or things I was plotting to do anything illegal. It was ignorance and lack of information. And that's why I'm suggesting to you that get this information. Look, get this information. Tiffany just dropped a hurl of wisdoms. That's why we call it the cheat codes. Tiff just dropped a whole folder of cheat codes on us here, and I appreciate her, and that's why she's on the team there. I hope you got that out of it. For the people in the audience, the people who are listening in today, do you have a business in a nonprofit? Who's going to be brave enough to step up and share? You can do it in the chat or raise your hand, I'll bring you up. Who here has a full business and a nonprofit? And who's willing to share how you make both of those things work? Are they somehow supporting each other on some level? Are they totally distinct from each other? And it's no gotcha. I'm just asking the question. Let me see who's coming up. I'm bringing up some folks.
So before they come in and talk, I'll tell my story.
Go ahead.
I'll tell my story. So, for those of you who know me, you guys know me from Mission Fulfilled 2030, right? The folks who show up all the time. But before there was Mission Fulfilled 2030, there was the Tech School for Black Boys, which was a for-profit entity. Now, what I was doing with the Tech School for Black Boys was I do pretty much the same thing I do now for Mission Fulfilled, but it was for a fee. And I did the Tech School for Black Boys for about 4 or 5 years. And what I found was I was basically isolating the actual kids that I wanted to serve, because the only people who participated with what I was doing was people who could afford it, right? But I really wanted to serve kids who grew up like me, whose parents wouldn't have had the opportunity to put them in a program like that. So I looked at it and I was like, all right, as a social enterprise, I could just take these kids on one side, pay, and then give scholarships to these other kids who couldn't afford it. But then I was like, you know what? I don't know how long I really want to do the Tech School for Black Boys. But if I flip it to a nonprofit, I could serve missions that I want to serve, build it to be an entity that will grow and thrive, and then I could move away from it. So I thought about, I can continue to do this thing that I probably won't want to do for a long time, and it was built on me, or I can build this other entity I think could grow into a much bigger enterprise as a nonprofit, serve a bigger mission than what I was just doing to. Actually, when I started Tech School for Black Boys, I was like, hey, it's a side hustle. I can make some spare change, right? But it grew into this thing where I started looking at it differently. But initially, it was just about making some money. It wasn't, I don't even know if I really looked at it. I knew it would give back to community, but I really only started it because I saw a small boy sons, and I said, I'm gonna build this thing for my sons so that they can have a community in tech. And that grew into what is now Mission Fulfilled, where I'm really building it so I can move away from it. I don't want to own it. I don't want to, yeah, it's my baby right now. But the vision is to be able to, when 2030 hits, to be able to pass the torch to that next person.
Good stuff. So how have you seen the evolution of going from that business model to a more nonprofit model? Where have the intersections been, or are you even still focused on the business at the same capacity?
So I don't even do the tech school for Black boys anymore because I feel like, all right, Mission Fulfilled is going to fill that void. And I never really wanted to start the nonprofit. But when I look in the space at the organizations and entities that probably should have been doing this work and more capable to do this work, they weren't. So I think of organizations like NSBE, which is a national organization with over 20,000 engineers under their membership, but yet they don't have a tech school for Black boys. You can't find programming that has engineers in it from city to city, which NSBE should be doing. I should be just, where's the NSBE engineering program for Black boys, right? I should be able to show up in any city and ask for that. Somebody point me to it, but that doesn't exist, right? So then I said, you know what? Because they're not going to do it, I don't necessarily have the power of them, but I'm going to do it.
Good stuff. Really good stuff. So, and I'm looking at different perspectives. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to read the chat and stay on top of it. So, Sharday, I'm coming to you 1 second. I hope I'm saying your name right. Tracy drops in the chat that you could start a B corporation. Tracy, are you willing to pop up and give us a little insight about what that is? And Tracy is a professor who is thoroughly informed in the space. Are you willing to jump up? I mean, you could just read the chat, but I think she can probably give us some insights that are far more in depth. Dr. Edmonds, come up and share your insights. Good morning, Tracy. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. Long time no talk to.
Oh, I know. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. So explain, give us that insight, that nuance there, because I think that's a great perspective for people who are kind of in the middle or not fully sure which angle to go.
So,
one second,
Mike,
Gerald. One second, Gerald. 1 second. Go ahead, Tracy, real quick.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt Gerald. So a B corporation is kind of a hybrid. So if you don't want to lose control over your organization, it's your baby and you don't want to lose control over it, but you want to serve a purpose, there's a new corporate status called a B Corp, which stands for a benefit corporation. So if you are a benefit corporation, then you have a social purpose. So you're not just looking at profits, but you're looking to fulfill a social need. And you could be a sole proprietor. You could be a sole member. You don't have to have a board like a nonprofit.
Okay.
So it's just an option for people who are torn between it's their baby, they don't want to give it up, but they have a way of making money, but they also want to serve a good purpose. Or if they want to combine their nonprofit mission, so a B Corp can either be where you there's different forms of it. So you can have one where you can have a business and then the profit goes towards a social cause, or your social cause could be your B corporation.
But you couldn't get grants, or could you raise money for your mission? That's my question there.
You could raise money for your mission. So it's not like a nonprofit. It is a for-profit business.
Okay.
So you're not going to be able to get grants per se, unless it's like a small business grant for for-profit businesses.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I know there's grants out there for for-profits, but you can't get like a nonprofit grant. No.
So kind of, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's like kind of socialpreneurship, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's an actual status that you can get as,
and
with
what's the difference in that and just doing a for-profit business and just having a social arm of giving back to your community? Is there any distinction, or is pretty much similar?
It's very similar, but when people see that you are a B corporation, that's just a special status. So they know exactly where your
Where you
corporation stand.
Got you. And it shows where you're focused at. It shows that this is intentional. It's not something we do just we kind of formed this specifically for the purpose of giving back. And Gerald, jump in. I apologize. I just wanted to let Tracy kind of chime in because I know she don't come up often.
No, so that's why, because she don't come up often, I had a joke before Tracy was going to take off. And this was the joke. Every time I see Tracy pop in, I'm like, what babyface wife doing here?
Well, look, the joke still sticks. It's good stuff.
my babyface wife in Nonprofit Chico.
Tracy, you're a celebrity in my eyes. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
My bad, Tracy.
That's funny. I get that all the time.
Well, you know what? I'm kind of, to Gerald's point, I'm looking at your advertisement. I probably have thought that when I like, yo, G, look who up in the room. No, Tracy, I appreciate you. Do you ever have this? And I know, obviously, well, tell us what you do in your professional life. I know you have a nonprofit as well, but is your 9 to 5? What do you do?
I'm a college professor, so I teach accounting. I'm also a CPA, and then I run our nonprofit as well.
Okay.
And I do, if I can give some flowers to this room, because of this room, we started doing earned income. So we have expanded so much, and I've gotten so much knowledge in this room, and I just want to thank you guys so much. So this year is going to be the first year that we go from a postcard to a 990. Easy.
Awesome.
So thank you guys. And it's because of we have a new earned income component where the city is now paying us to train people in project management. So I'm super excited about that. So I want to thank you guys for that.
Awesome. And when you hear that, you throw that out
Mike,
there. That's a big deal.
Mike, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying, Mike. So since Tracy is a college professor, we will accept our honorary PhDs from Tracy. So Tracy, at any moment,
just drop it in there.
Present us with the honorary Clubhouse PhD for Nonprofit Cheat Codes.
Wow.
And we'll accept it.
Absolutely.
You can send it by email or however you want to get that out to us.
Look, the comedy stylings of Gerald Morris Senior, Gerald A. Morris Senior. Good. Look, Gerald, that's a good one. Look, Tracy, can I tap in? You could send it on the back chat. Oh, no, they don't got back channel no more, huh, Gerald? Wow. Send that to the inbox.
Exactly.
You got my email. It's been a lot of change. Thank you, Tracy. Sincerely, we appreciate it. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. I've had a small cohort. Tracy's very insightful, but she's learned it too now. She don't just jump out and say nothing. She's going to think about it, process it, and then she gives a very qualified answer. So I just want to let you know I appreciate it. Good morning, Sharday. Come up to the stage. Come off mute. Good to have you here, and welcome to Nonprofit Cheat Codes.
Good morning. Good morning.
Am I saying your name? Am I saying your name wrong? Or correct me, because Gerald will pick at me.
No, you're saying it correctly.
Okay. Well, good morning. Who are you? Welcome to Nonprofit Cheat Codes. Tell us about who you are and your organization.
So my name is Sharday Dilla Gordon. I consider myself a knowledge broker and a resource strategist, and I pretty much help small business owners and nonprofits, as well as individuals, gain access to free money to help them live the life of their dreams.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, hold on. We got to do some business now. Now, let me get my finder's fee in here, because that was a good little commercial. We got to work that out. I'm just joking. Go right ahead.
So I own a nonprofit organization. Well, I'm the president and founder of a nonprofit organization, the Dillard Gordon Community Development Center, which is aimed towards helping veteran families and those who are mentally ill gain access to housing and various resources to help them get back on their feet, especially those who are displaced because of those issues that they face. These are personal and near and dear to my heart due to family, as well as my experiences growing up. And I know what the disadvantages are in those communities and the lack of resources. And so I wanted to be that conduit to help bridge the gap between what is available and what is, known and what people are privy to. So that is on the nonprofit side. And on the for-profit side, I own a business called The Right Business Solutions. And it's pretty much a full business administration agency that helps people with research, developing their businesses. So I pretty much use these together in conjunction to help individuals who are seeking research. So one of the main things I do is grant proposal writing. And I wanted to piggyback real quick off of what Ms. Tracy was saying about the social enterprises. I have seen a couple of social enterprise grants on grants.gov. They're out there. They're not as common for nonprofit, as they are for nonprofits. But they are out there, and they're pretty. It's more open to the social enterprise before the small business. And so that's how I do it. I pretty much use my nonprofit to I help fund my nonprofit through my for-profit. And I do not take a salary. I don't plan on taking a salary until we make enough revenue to receive a reasonable salary, which hopefully I never have to take one, because I really want to just keep it going and keep all the money going towards the cause.
So let me jump in there a little bit, Sade. So how do you walk that fine line that Tiffany was referencing of keeping the distinction so it doesn't look like you're profiting off your nonprofit? I'm just asking because you're doing it in real time. So who better to ask than people who are really doing the thing in real time, who actually have boots on the ground?
So I do not take a salary at all from my nonprofit. I do not withdraw money. And one of the things I tell a lot of the nonprofit clients that I have is that I do not advise you take a salary, or anyone on the board take a salary at first. Keep all the money in the nonprofit, because on that $990 is not going to look very good if you're pulling a salary and it's not enough to sustain itself. And so I pretty much just put money into my baby girl.
We got a special guest with the special guest.
She's very active, but I pretty much contribute more. Contribute to the nonprofit to keep it going, and just use the various resources to help build it up. And I do not withdraw anything out for any personal reasons, because that fine line of annulment is really important to pay attention to. That's pretty much it. I don't even try to go after grants for salary right now. I just focus on the mission and getting it up and going.
I'm just getting your insight. So, and I don't want to sound like I got you. I'm just asking you to find out, are you intentionally thinking about it? Have you considered it? And obviously you have. So thank you. Drop in the chat how people can connect with you, because we always like to support each other here. And when we have nonprofits or for-profits, obviously, number one, nonprofits. Excuse me, you guys, if you see me online, I got these dry lips over here, and I left my little bomb in the car. So I'm over here looking Malik Yoba. I'm going to stop ripping on Malik Yoba, though. Sade, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And let me bring up Mr. Money, walking up in here, just taking his time, gallivanting, chilling around the country. Good morning, Amit. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Sorry, I was a little bit late.
No worries.
Had an appointment that ran a little bit late before. So, yep. No,
it's all good. My back, I don't got no back channel here, but my inbox over here is popping on some of these other channels. Where's Amit at? Where's Amit? I got a question for Amit. So I'm just saying, Amit. So Amit, we're talking about.
It's nice to be thought about.
It's always good to have my friend here. Amit has been literally, and he'll say, nice, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. But I literally tell you, he's my go-to guy when I think about all things finances, when I think about tax questions. I know he keeps a tab on me. One day he's gonna hit me with a bill and I'm gonna be broke. But with that being said,
no way.
Let me throw another thing out there. See, I like to catch people on air. This is what you got to do, you guys. If you're watching or listening to me, take this cheat code, because this is a real cheat code. You got to ask people live when you want something. So Amit was supposed to give me a date, and I didn't get no date yet, and I was looking for it. He got me all excited last week about a new opportunity, and I was all built up. I'm taking notes. I got little ideas for him. I threw together a little proposal, and my boy didn't even call me up and say, Mike.
Well, Well, yeah, no, you are exactly right, and I appreciate that you guys are my accountability partner.
All right.
I use that term all the time now. I use that term with my clients too. I'm like, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm your accountability partner, right? You told me to do it. So no, I appreciate that. No, and I was actually going to text you. No, we were going to chat. I think I had a meeting with the attorneys, and so let's.
Okay,
let's talk on Monday. I appreciate that.
Text me this weekend and meet. Listen.
Okay.
I want to listen.
So
I'm bought in. I'm bought in, and I want other people to hear that I'm bought in. Look, and some of this is selfish because when you blow up, I want to blow up too. Meet, boom.
Well, I don't know. Listen, man, there's a lot of cool people in this room that go blow up way before me. But listen, I appreciate the accountability, man. I really do.
I appreciate you, my friend. So we've talked
I'm
about
lucky to have
you.
people in my life like that. I thank you.
Well, we're lucky to have you and me. And let me say first, because your reputation precedes you. So we've been talking about nonprofit is for profit. That's kind of the focus of the show today, and we could not have this conversation without you adding in insights because you keep us honest. Well, you keep me honest. Let me speak for myself. You keep me honest because I might put my toe over the line. So talking about how people can have a for-profit and nonprofit and what are some of the best practices when you are a person who may be doing both. Tiffany gave a master class before you came in, literally,
very good.
About compliance and being mindful and being very intentional so that you don't get yourself in the problems and have the IRS in the group chat or the State Department in the group chat. Not the department, the State Board of Taxes in the group chat either. So what are some best practices if a person has a business and then they want to have a nonprofit and they want to be able to support the nonprofit with their business? What are some top 5 that you would I'm not asking you to give a whole dissertation, but what are some of the top 5 things people should think about?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I just want to say kudos to Tracy, a fellow colleague of mine. I think it sounds like you're doing some really good stuff down there in the accounting, finance area with students. And I just got in the room and I heard the tail end of it. And I think that's great. And then you said yourself, Tracy, you transitioned from the postcard to the EZ, which means more work for you. But means that you're also making more money, right, and bringing in revenue. So good for you. I think that's great, and always like to see people, my colleagues, people in my space also doing well. So just wanted to say that before we move on too far. But and I think I would imagine that Tiffany said a lot of it. The idea is that the theory is, and I hope I'm just not repeating anything here, but the theory is that your for-profit status gives you the ability to do anything you want to do. Obviously, it's legal, whatever you can do. Your not-for-profit status, same thing, is really more designed for things that are educational, charitable, scientific, things of that nature, right? And under that umbrella comes a lot of different things. And it's important to keep things separate. You know what I mean? So one thing that's very important to do is, and I'm sure Tiffany mentioned this or has come up in the room, is you've got to have 2 separate entities, obviously. I think that's just obvious. Separate bank accounts, right?
Absolutely.
Separate boards.
Let me drop one of those on there because we didn't mention that. I think it was implied, but you're 100% right. Okay. You definitely have to have 2 separate bank accounts. Like if there's nothing else you do, you better have 2 separate bank accounts. Absolutely.
That's right. And
Tiff, hold on one second, Amit. I'm sorry. Tiff, how you gonna not tell us that, Tiff? I'm just saying. I'm just joking. just joking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go to me. I apologize.
So I think it's kind of obvious, but I think it's important to state. So these are 2 separate operations, right? And what we don't want to jeopardize the tax exempt status, right? You spend a lot of time, effort, resources to do that, and to the extent that you mix the 2, you could jeopardize your tax exempt status. So what does that mean? Well, why do we care about that? Why is that important? Number one, it's important because it allows you to get contributions that are tax deductible, right? If you give a contribution to a corporate, if I give a contribution to MSI Brand Solutions, right, that's not tax deductible to me, right? That's maybe deductible as an expense, but not as a charitable deduction, right?
You made me get a little nervous when you said that, man. Don't say that out loud.
But if I give a contribution to Mission Fulfilled 2030, that is deductible, right? Gerald's operation is a 501c3, and he is doing the purposes right there, so that I can deduct it on my taxes. So it's important to keep the two separate, I think, right? You know what I mean? And I think Sade just mentioned a really important thing, a private annulment, which means private benefit. You should not be receiving any private benefit by running your non-for-profit. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take a salary. I believe that Sade says she was not taking a salary, and that's appropriate. It's very appropriate. If you are running a non-for-profit, you can take a salary, right? Depending on where you're at and what you're doing. And you know, again, your finances are public information. So people, when they want to give you grants, they look at that stuff and they say, hey, they brought in $100,000, they paid, $60,000 in salaries. That's something we're not going to invest in. You know what I mean? So you want to be mindful of that. So it is okay to do that, but you should not be doing things that will privately benefit you by running the not-for-profit. So it's important to do that. The last thing I'll say, and I'll jump off here, is every transaction that you do in the not-for-profit, especially when it involves yourself as the executive director or a leader in the not-for-profit organization, you got to get that. You should really, best practices would say you get that approved by your board, right? So, for example, if Sade were to take a salary from our business or from a not-for-profit, right, it should be approved by the board. There should be a committee that she should not be on the committee. They would approve the compensation, right? And so it's important to keep those things separate to do that, And the other reason it's legally, you have to legally do that, right? So there's a lot of flexibility, so it's not like you're in a box. But, it's important to do that. But also it's from a visibility standpoint, right? I mean, because your finances are public, you don't want people to say things or assume certain things or whatever the case may be. So I don't know if I answered your question, Mike, but those are things definitely I would think about doing in a not-for-profit. There's a lot of flexibility out there. There's not a complete, black and white. But, the high level is what I just mentioned. And within that, there's definitely some ways to be a little flexible or looking at things in a different way or whatever the case may be. But it is important to abide by those principles in your not-for-profit, you know what I mean, in the way you run it.
Good stuff. I mean, I appreciate it. And some of the stuff you just brought up, Tiffany touched on some of it and I reinforce it because I don't want by any means to give information that would be causing liability for people. And I don't want them to feel as though there is no wiggle room either, right? But the definitivity, I think, was the thing that resonated over and over with me, being very definitive about the two organizations. And and I think Tiffany kind of closed with the ideal. If you have a business and you want to do amazing work, you don't have to have a 501c3. You can still do amazing work. Tracy gave us another better ideal that's a way of forming a B Corp. All right, let me look at my notes here, Tracy, because you said it so eloquently and I don't want to butcher it up any. But forming a B corporation for, if that's a part of your, your mission from day one, that form that B corporation so people identify that you're not just doing this for profit. You're doing this with a social angle to it. And I think those are all great caveats that should be considered if you're really on the line. The bottom line is there is a middle ground, meaning that you can do both. And I asked the question a little facetiously in my promo, do you have to choose profit or do you have to choose making a difference? And the fact is you don't. You just have to be intentional. But as I like to say, there's rules to this ish. So you need to be very specific. And let me also throw this out there, ask a professional. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have to assume. There are people like Amit, Tracy, and maybe, I don't know if Tracy's doing any type of private practice, but there are people who have the information. It's out there. You just have to do your due diligence and find people in the spaces and lawyers. And I've been working so hard. So if you guys got a lawyer who be willing to come up here and share some good insights for free, because we broke up. We're not broke. I don't like the word broke. We are not making money off nonprofit cheat codes. So if you guys know a lawyer, I have a person I've been talking to and trying to twist their arm to come up here and share. Have them jump up or contact me because some of the information is invaluable. And everything doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg just to get some insights. And that's what nonprofit cheat codes is really about, allowing people to do the due diligence and do the good work, not due diligence, but doing their investment into their communities, whatever angle you choose. And it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. It doesn't have to break you. How should it really break the bank for you to do good stuff in your community? Everything's not free. So let me be very candid and say that first. but it should be comparable if you're trying to really invest. Doesn't mean free. So Lisa, you've been quiet for a minute. When I think of you, Lisa, this comes to mind a lot because Kisa feels like a business. I mean, it is a business, it's a nonprofit business. Have you ever had that conversation with yourself, or how have you made that choice to go nonprofit as opposed to just having a for-profit media company?
Yes, so actually this topic is right on time because I have been thinking about that recently. I started out as a nonprofit. My thinking was to be able to, support journalists, but also follow the model of like public broadcasting television, where it's like through foundations and grants. But now that I've been looking and applying for grants for the past 2 years, and I've been successful in some ways, but not really as far as getting some major grants or foundation money. I've been thinking about shifting, but also I'm working in an industry that is downsizing, and also there are foundations who are not contributing to journalism organizations like they used to years ago. And so with that in mind, I've been thinking more about the B Corporation, or just some type of company that will have the nonprofit side to it, but then build out a journalism company, media company that will expand into like doing documentaries and like other programming as a business, and then have the social impact side with supporting journalists and like training journalists as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm going right now.
So it is something.
But also, I still need.
No, you good. I was just saying it is something that you've definitely considered and put thought into.
Yes, it is. Yes. And going through it right now, as a matter of fact.
So let me, I gotta give everybody their full share of harassment. So Lisa, I don't know what you done did differently, but you ain't chopping up. That signal strong. I don't know who you know. I know it ain't Spectrum, because Spectrum is choppy. Whatever the case, it's good stuff, Lisa. I'm happy to hear.
Well, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
And Mike, I just want to say that what Lisa just mentioned is a great sort of like template of the way, and I really think that she's really thinking about this in the right way, because there are certain aspects of Lisa's business, right, that lend itself much better to not-for-profit land, right? She mentioned training of journalists, right, doing documentaries, right, and in those endeavors, people aren't going to pay for that. People are not able to pay for that. There's no service directly that comes from that. So service meaning there's no product you can sell. You know what I mean? And so people are more willing to contribute to that endeavor, right? Because everyone wants to see educated journalists, right, giving information and educating the community. And the documentary sometimes may not be commercial success, right? Sometimes, but they provide a huge value to the community and education and awareness. So, it's really kind of cool that the way that she's thinking about it, she's saying there's aspects of my business that may lend itself better to contributions, grants, opportunities. And then there's another segment of my business. At least I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if I'm crazy here, but there's another segment of the business where it is hardcore, running down stories, right? And, and doing the news and putting out information for the community, which is clearly a very for-profit endeavor, because you can sell advertising, right? The commercial model, right? So I just really like the way that Lisa's thinking about this endeavor. And in your own endeavors, there's ways that, there's also things are more applicable for everybody in their own situation. So I just want to say kudos to Lisa for thinking of it along those lines. And then, obviously thinking about how to maximize those two things. Because in her, I would imagine, at least I don't know, but in your world, Lisa, your world is changing quite a bit in terms of funding, in terms of what's out there, what was funded in the past. Anyway, just want to say that's a great way you're thinking about it, and it's a nice template for people to think about it in their own way for their own entities.
So let me switch it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let me switch it up again. Let's change the focus a little. Not change the focus. Stay on the same focus, but let's do a live mastermind. So I want you guys to chime in here, and this is going to be interesting because you see Mike is selfish. I'm always trying to find a way to benefit out of everything. I'm just joking. How, to our panel, how could we make nonprofit cheat codes a nonprofit?
Oh wow, that's a good question.
Me, Tiffany, Tracy, Gerald.
Well, I think we are, again, from under the umbrella of education. You know what I mean? Awareness. There is definitely some avenue there for that, right? And I think we'd have to expand it to have maybe think about some deliverables that we do a deliverable every Saturday.
Every Saturday,
right? That's the deliverable, right? But I'd have to think about it further. The other avenue would be, we do talk about other topics as well. That's okay to do that. So I'd have to think about that. But I think that might be something to think about, because again, under the umbrella of education, communication, and that is one of the areas of which, there's many areas. I'm just mentioning a couple of those, being a not-for-profit. That's something to think about. I think I'd have to think about a little further and have some ideas out there. But I think that would be something to possibly consider.
So one of the reasons why I asked that is because I'm sorry, Lisa, you go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I was going to mention that, yes, I think it would be a good idea and use it to provide services to nonprofit organizations through having guest experts in certain areas to help nonprofits grow, and use it as maybe some type of training program if possible, or education focused.
Great way.
So, and the reason, thank you, Lisa, because that's going where I'm going. So we have so many micro startups that, and don't steal my look, because I got it working on getting copywritten or trademark, a pain that turned into a passion that evolved into a purpose. And I got witnesses too, because I will be all up in court with you. Anyway, that's how so many nonprofits start. But so many of the small nonprofits that we engage with on this specific platform, and I don't mean just Clubhouse, I mean the platform, the space of nonprofit cheat codes, they don't have the budget to, and I'm not, no disrespect intended, they're self-funded. They don't have a budget to do anything, but they still need some consultancy. They still need some guides, if you will, but they don't have the budget. We are providing a free service. Now, obviously, we do it within a 2-hour span on Saturdays, and we've been extremely, and I say it humbly with a whole lot of gratitude, as Tracy just shared. We do it, and we've impacted hundreds and hundreds of nonprofits. And I wish I could calibrate it, or I wish I could quantify it, but I know we have. The inboxes I get, the messages I get, the people I've met that have shared, and I'm not saying it for pats on the back. I'm just saying I know it's a fact that the tidbits, that, as funny as it may sound and comical as that may sound when I do that little drop, there are people that I know. Listen, this is the funny part, because there are people who've gotten their notes and they run off and we've never heard from them again. And that's fine, because it's not about us getting kudos. It's about helping our communities. But my point being is there have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nonprofits that have come across our space. And whether it be Amit or Tiffany or Lisa or Gerald, and on the rare occasions me, that have dropped a jewel that maybe have benefited you, I know it has made a difference. And I'm very humble, but I'm also very conscious. So my point being is, some of the folks need a deeper dive. And I'm sure some of us here have heard this, and maybe it's just me. But in the early days of Clubhouse, I used to hear people getting pissed off because they would contact one of these consultants, and I'm a consultant myself, and it's like the person would give them a fee, because this is what it charges if you want me to work with you. I've worked with dozens and dozens. I would go as far as say probably 200 in that range over the last 3 years, and who have not been charged anything. It's just a conversation. And anybody who knows how long-winded I am, you get a 15-minute consult from me, I should probably be on your board, or I should be in your bank account, because I share a lot, because that's my personality. But I'm mentioning it to say that I've heard people fuss, they try to charge me. Well, they're giving you subject matter expertise. They're giving you information. If they're charging, they should be compensated. But my point is, I would love an opportunity for us to be able to do it where we could have a scholarship of sorts where we could say, hey, we got this scholarship for 20 nonprofits that we're able to provide for. Because at the end of the day, things still have to be paid for, right? And I know it's a misnomer sometimes in our community that it's a nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit. I'm supposed to give it free, be free. Don't work that way. Tiffany, Gerald, chime in. People who think because they're nonprofits that everything is supposed to be free. Any feedback, any insights? Tiffany, Gerald, y'all still here?
I had to find the mute.
No worries.
I mean, I think that's just a natural progression. I think part of it is because there's so many myths around nonprofits. I think people have a lot of assumptions about what they are and what they aren't. And so a lot of people think nonprofits can't make money or can't make profit. I don't really know where that comes from, but because they think that, then they think, well, why would you charge me? Because we're not in this to make a profit. We're in this to do some good. So I don't necessarily think it's coming from a negative place when people get mad that people want to charge. But I think you got to take a step back and understand that any effort being put up or any kind of work that someone is giving you should be compensated. Now, it's their choice to decide to ask for compensation. But if someone's going to put up effort or help you strategize or help you write a grant or any of that, we have to acknowledge that takes time, that takes effort. People should be compensated for their time. But I think where it comes from is that people assume because nonprofits make money that the whole industry should be charitable and everybody should just be passing out free information, and that's not necessarily the case. So, yes, there are breaks for nonprofits, and when it's appropriate, yes, you should ask, you should inquire to see if there's a break for a nonprofit, because many companies do that. They offer a free version, or, they're very understandable, but don't go into it assuming and then having the attitude. You have to say something.
No, that's a whole fact. And if you think that nonprofits get everything free, contact the person getting their brakes fixed for their van, contact a clothing. My point being, as Tiffany just made, I always say, is there a nonprofit discount or is there a nonprofit rate? I do when I'm doing something relating to our nonprofit team, Jenny Bean. But I don't assume, nor do I even imagine to go into certain places thinking they're going to give it to me just because. If it's an option, I typically do my research. But when you're talking about small consultants and consultancies, and you talk about advisors and whatnot, these are small business owners, and their time is very valuable. And I'm not trying to say it just because I do consulting. I'm saying realistically, most of us have some form of job. In some cases, our nonprofit is our job. You don't expect to get all the work you do and not still draw on it. So why would you assume that a consultant or a person that's their livelihood is able to pay their bills? And I'm probably not the best person to ask because I sometimes give away too much because I have a heart of service. And that doesn't mean you can't have a heart of service and not charge. But I'm always, and my wife has gotten me together with this over time, I'm always finding a way that I can give and give and give. And I've had to learn to find out, because some people, Tiffany, I heard you say it's not negative when people, no, in my opinion, I'm going to push back. It's some people who go a little too hard about getting it for free. I give free consultation. Tiffany gives free consult. I think all of us probably who consult give some form of free consultation. But I've had people who, it's 30 minutes and it'd be 2 hours. They got to hang up because they literally don't have the ability or don't think that they should compensate because they're a nonprofit. And I think it's a fine line, but I think it's still in this vein of something I think Amit says here often. Your nonprofit is a business. So make no buts about that part. There's no question that your nonprofit is a business and should be run accordingly. And if you're not running your nonprofit as a business, not only are you doing a disservice to the people you serve, but you're potentially putting yourself in a liability state because accountability has to be set. You're running an organization that's state sanctioned. And if you're not running it in the appropriate way, there are potential penalties or liabilities that can come out of that. And you don't want that. They say you don't want that smoke. You don't want none of that smoke. Amit, is that fair that you don't want that? You don't want that. Sound like Snap. I got the power. Right.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want that. And I think especially now, you definitely don't want that because if you jeopardize your tax exempt status, and we've talked about this before, so I won't keep mentioning it, but your donations potentially will not be deductible. So that means you got to go back to your donors and say, hey, by the way, you gave me that donation, you're not going to deduct on your taxes, right? Or, that grant that you're working on with your local municipality that has to go to a not-for-profit, you're like, sorry, I got to withdraw that grant. I'm no longer, you know what I mean? And so you don't want that. And then the IRS now is, listen, the IRS is actually not a bad organization. They're good people. There's some abuses and things like that, but they're using AI and technology. They're using ChatGPT, all that stuff to go after these things. And trust me, they are doing it. If you haven't heard, the U.S. is in debt $33 trillion. We just crossed that the other day. And so they need money. So they're going to use all the technology to do that. So, so I would encourage people to, the one part of being a not-for-profit is the tax compliance and those sorts of things. It's important. It's not a joke. It's important to do that. And just talk to somebody if you have any questions, but just get it done. And if you're late on it, that's okay. Just get it done. There might be some penalties and interest. You can maybe work that down, but it's important to have that as a part of your annual work that you do for the not-for-profit. So don't want to scare anybody, but it's important to take it seriously.
So Amit, and this, I'm always clowning, right? But I love how Amit always talks about the IRS, but within the first 30 seconds. But they're an amazing organization. But they're an amazing organization. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, no. I say that, Mike, because I did. Yeah, you bring up a good point. I say that. No. I know. Well, we may have some IRS people in the audience. No, I'm just kidding. But you never know, right? But the thing is, they're actually much better than the state organizations. I found that to be the case. Mm-hmm. The state organizations who are there to regulate you, right? Those people, and I hate to say this, are generally the less, talented, less knowledgeable, less trained. The IRS actually, in comparison to the state organizations, is leaps and bounds better than them. I think, you know what I mean. And so they're actually, as I tell every one of my clients, just do the right thing. Trust me, if you get it in, even if it's not perfect, get it in. You're going to be fine. You know what I mean? They go after the ones that have not filed. So anyway, you get my point. But,
I will say from personal experiences, I said I'll be the fool's banner here to say that I've had experience with both of them because of not being compliant, because of procrastination, and the state will come to your house and knock on your door. The state, the state will put tape on. I have had that happen. I have had to knock on the door at home. I have, and I've had the IRS. Good morning, Mr. Shaw. This is agent so and so from the Internal Revenue Service. When I tell you, we laugh a little lightheartedly and say this, you don't want. Listen. My whole stomach, I had to pick my stomach up and carry it with me when I got the call from the IRS and had to go down and bring all my receipts and all my records and all my bank statements. Yeah. And it wasn't as well. No, it was, because I was in a little office that looked like an interrogation room, literally. And I bring these shoe boxes thinking I was doing something, bringing all these receipts and shoe boxes. And the first thing that the agent said, this is nonprofit cheat codes expose. The agent, young agent, funny, he wasn't a G man, as you would probably assume. He was a young agent in a polo and some khakis. And he said to me, yeah, Mr. Shaw, so what do you want me to do with those receipts? I can't do it. So I'm like, well, you told me to. No, he said, I told you to bring them all, go back and itemize it and bring me a spreadsheet.
Right.
Right. So I'm just saying, for real talk, for people who, you hear about it, I'm telling you, a person who's been through it, for not filing taxes for a certain period of time, that I won't disclose that because I don't want to make myself out as poorly followed through as I was at the time. Anyway,
you live and you learn.
Live and you learn, brother. So I got those taxes filed. The accountant I was using at the time, I think, gave me a little bit of bad advice, and I came back with a bill owing just under $70,000. Right.
That's not fun.
No, not fun at all. No. But again, full disclosure, you got to hear at Cheat Codes, but I'm sharing it because it was a life-changing experience. And you hear the hyperbole and you hear the things that people talk about. I literally experienced it. And it was so funny. I say this and I move off this because I don't want to no calls to come my way. But procrastinated a little while longer because after I went, I was like, oh, I don't went and did it now. What's up? I'm good now. Opened a new business location. And I'm probably going just 2 steps too far, but I'm going to share because I love you guys. So open this new business location. And the agent calls me up and leaves me another message. It's about 6 months later. And he goes, Mr. Shaw, I saw your new location. It's amazing. I love what you're doing. I had an article drop in the paper a couple weeks before this call. So he goes this far. And you guys think we're joking when we say keep the IRS out the group chat, when I'm telling you real talk here. So he goes, and Mr. Shaw, I love that track number 3 on your website. Who's that song by? I love that song. Now at this point, yeah, he poking the bear a little bit with me. He's literally mental warfare with me. My stomach is in knots. He's like, yeah, I love the new place, Mr. Shaw. Last thing you want to hear from an IRS agent is that your new place looks so fancy and updated, and that nice new website you got there. So I'm telling y'all, this is probably 18 years ago now, but you don't want that. When I tell you, you don't want that smoke, you don't want the smoke. And thank God I did what I had to do. I got everything filed in, because this big thing to me over everything that was mentioned was get those taxes filed. File them. Now, I'm going to say something. The meat's probably going to slap my hands. Tracy's probably going to give me, and I'm going to divert from this a little bit after I say this. What I didn't know, I'm not trying to get bad advice. I'm telling you what I did. Full disclosure, disclaimer, I'm telling you what happened for me was I didn't know that as long as your taxes are filed in there, I think over 2 years, it'll meet 2 or 3 years, that taxes can be written off in bankruptcy. But they have to be filed, and I believe they have to be over 2 years old. So
yeah, I don't know the exact bankruptcy part of it. I have to look that one up again. But there is
no worry. I'm just talking about my experience. I don't want nobody to get liability here.
I know exactly.
So it was once they were filed and they were over 2 years old. I know because I had it done. I'm not telling you to do. I'm telling you my experience. I was able to put those taxes in my bankruptcy. And I'm not, obviously, bankruptcy is very serious, and I'm not advising anyone to do that. But if
the information you are hearing on Cheat Codes is not that of any legal entity.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. But to that being said, information is power. Knowledge is power. And not knowing is a lot of what keeps us crippled, because we don't have the information. And I'm giving you all this information to say that don't take my advice. Don't take anyone's advice. Go find out your own information. The most important advice is go seek the information, because a lot of times the misnomers and the rhetoric that we hear a lot of times are not true. People tell you things to put you in fear and paralysis, and you go and find out it's one form. When I had my state tax liability, it was one form that I didn't fill out. You hear I had a checker pass on. No, I was just a real ignorant 20-something running by the seat of my pants trying to get things accomplished. I had, I don't want to change your opinion, but look, this is where I'm coming from, where I came from, right? But I know better now in my 20s. This is my 20s now. I'm about 25 years out of this. When I had gotten a tax lien from the state tax for not filing on time. May have been the same debt in some regard. But my point being, I had got garnished for a year. And it wasn't because I did anything wrong. I didn't file those quarterly taxes. And after not filing those quarterly taxes, they garnished my wages on an estimate of what they assumed I should have paid them. And it was one form. I finally got over my fear and my butterflies and went down and talked to him. And the representative was like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Shaw, you didn't make any money? Oh, okay, fine. You just need to file a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 form, whatever form it was." And literally within 4 weeks, got a check for all the money they garnished me for. One form. And because of procrastination and because of ignorance and because of not stepping up to the plate, had all that unnecessary roughage. So I hope if you take anything from my long drawn out statement here is just to say, be upfront, do the due diligence, don't be afraid. You'll hear lawyers, I've had my lawyer and other lawyers always say, always respond to those letters, always respond to those inquisitions. Yeah. Don't ignore them. Amit?
No, I was going to say, no, that's exactly right. You're giving good guidance. And the other thing I'll throw out there too is that the two things. One is with technology, they're all right now. That same person can go on LinkedIn, Instagram, right, Facebook, and Mike. They can essentially unravel your whole life, right? They know a lot of what you're doing, right? And they're sitting at their desk. They're not in the old days. They're coming up and come to your office or doing this or they're looking at the paper. And no. They're going to go to your social media. They do that all the time. Social media, LinkedIn, all these things, Instagram, and they say, "Oh, look at this," And so that, trust me, and two things real quick since we're talking about it. If you have, and again, I know this is a not-for-profit rule, but if you have taxes that you haven't filed or think that you owe some money or whatever it is, there's a Fresh Start program that the IRS has for people where it's exactly what the name says, Fresh Start, right? So it's just like, you come clean and say, you know what, here's what I haven't done, here's what I haven't filed, here it is, it's filed, and then they will, if you can't do it multiple times, you can only do it once or twice, but they will say, you know what, okay, we will write off some of that, right? Not even, without even going to bankruptcy or anything like that.
Right.
So just get it in there, you know what I mean, and do it. And then the other last thing I'll say is that now if they file tax lien or things of that nature, they'll do that like water, like candy. Now they do that. That could affect your credit score too, right? You don't need that, right? The change in your credit score affects your insurance that you pay for your car, insurance for your home, obviously your loan. So it's in the back of the day when it was paper being filed or paper that they're going through the system, it's all electronic now. It's all with technology. So it really, really is important to do that. So please just do it. And again, if you have any questions, give me a call or chat. I can point in the right direction or help you, whatever. But it's just not worth it. Trust me, it's easier to get done. You'll feel better that you've taken care of it. And trust me, it'll be that one thing off your plate that will really, will increase your quality of life and just make sure you're on the right path to what you got to do. So,
and Amit, you often share too that when people have those tax questions to reach out to you, but I think people kind of, one thing I used to do, and I'm much better at it in this stage in my life, is when people give you an opportunity to reach out or they offer themselves for information, take advantage of it. Take advantage. See, look, I'll be on the phone with them later if you won't. I laugh a little bit when I say that, but literally take advantage of the opportunities to get this information, best practices. Taxes are something you just don't want to play with. And because of the 501c3, one of the major parts of tax designation, you literally don't want to have that pop up. Or more importantly, anything. Why would you want that to be a thing that stops you from your mission of helping the people that you're helping? And I guess kind of simplify it with that. Jessica, you're coming off mute.
I am. This really has been a master class and so timely because Giving Tuesday, and I keep referring to this as like the world championship of our space that we're in.
We appreciate it.
This is the time to have these conversations. And I don't know if this was mentioned already, but could Tiffany or perhaps if others know the answer to this, we're talking about the difference between non and for-profit and the B Corp and all that. So what is, I know what fee for service is, in the general sense, but what is the distinction when it comes to a nonprofit with because it sounds like a business bringing in profit, but it sounds like, I don't know. I guess I need clarity on how that
I'll
works.
I'll touch on this a little bit. So, just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you can't operate and offer services, right? So right now I'm in a process. When I registered my nonprofit, I knew I wanted to at some point have the ability to do business with the government. To do business with the government, you have to register in the SAM database, right? Which gives you another number to your entity to do business with the government. So just because I'm a nonprofit does not mean that I cannot apply for RFPs that are posted by the government or RFPs that are posted by any entity and serve that for a fee. And Tiffany talks about this. You are a business, actually, right? So I don't have to actually just give everything away for free. I can go do business with anyone that I choose for a fee. Just that my services are for pretty much public use to serve in what I do, but I can still go out and contract those services to do what our organization does because it costs money and they understand that it costs money. So from that, you are actually a business.
And I'll add, like, the difference, Jessica, is your charitable purpose. So the charitable purpose that you disclose to the IRS, your activities really need to revolve around that. So you could do both. You could be providing services and get paid for them, and that's your charitable purpose. So as an example, in the child welfare space, there are organizations that are nonprofit that provide services to kids in foster care. That's their mission, but they get paid through contracts with the local county DSS, right? And so they're earning the money. They're not, it's not a contribution or a grant or anything like that. So it's all focused on their charitable purpose. When you begin to veer off of that and do business activities that are not aligned with your charitable purpose, that's when it becomes a flag to the IRS, and that's called unrelated business income, which there is some wiggle room. You can do a little bit of that, but if you do too much of that, you risk your status being revoked. And you still have to pay tax on over a certain amount. I think it's $1,000. You still have to pay tax on the income that you make that's not related to your charitable purpose.
So
the
Tiffany,
real key,
Team Jenny Bean can't wrap cars on the side?
I mean, if you want to get your status, if that's what you
Well, so Mike, you actually could if that made people happiness because you're the happiness champion.
I'm the happiness.
So if you were making,
yeah, that's a reach.
That's a reach,
right?
Is that a little bit of a reach? That's a reach. Okay.
If you had the kids out there wrapping cars, making them happy. Jessica, what I left off.
Now you about to get me. Listen, don't even say that out loud. This is being recorded and broadcast. Look, Mike got the pediatric oncology children rapping and spinning rims.
Rapping cars, making them happy.
Making them.
So Jessica, what I left off is what Tiffany said for your charitable purpose. So when I'm looking at doing business with government, is to do workforce development for the same people that I serve. Right. And those contracts are available. So for that charitable purpose, not for some just nefarious, we're going to go out and ball out with these contracts. No.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That puts it more into frame. And some people there are operating costs. And so that feels like that would take at least some pressure off, because I feel like that is one of the bigger pressure points is literally to operate and exist and get, I don't know, rent paid if you're using a physical building or whatnot. So that helps to see how that can take some pressure off, but it's not the end all be all, because maybe the fee for service doesn't cover everything. So you still also do need to have grants and donors So now I see the Trinity. Now I see why Tiffany says it like that. And that was super helpful to break it down.
No, good stuff,
So
Jessica.
let's go get this Skrilla, Jessica. Let's go get this Skrilla.
Oh, I got you.
Definitely good stuff. Thank you for the question or posing the question, Jessica. Always a great conversation. And I think as we kind of start to round out a little bit for the show today, the bigger ideal here is a lot of this stuff. Just do the due diligence, ask questions. We're here. Like, it's a lot of information that I don't have, but boy, do I know how to get it. And vice versa. Reach out to any of us in the room or on the panel, touch our faces, get our contacts, go to the top of the room. As I said, join that nonprofit nation symbol here, or actually go to www.nonprofitcheatcodes.com, sign up so you can get everything nonprofit cheat codes. We really, literally appreciate you guys being here. Before we sign off, any final thoughts, team? Start with you, Tiff. Any final thoughts?
No, it's good to be in the space with everybody. And remember, you can do a lot of things with your nonprofit status, but know the rules, get to know the IRS, get to know the state, and just don't be scared. Just be informed.
Good stuff. Lisa, any final thoughts? Go around the room. Are you there, Lisa? Are you there? Lisa, you're off mute, but you're not. It's no sound. Amit, jumping over to you. Any final thoughts?
I'll just jump on, or I'll co-sign with Tiffany. I think she said it just right. And listen, have a good weekend watching football. We'll catch you next week.
Mr. Moore.
Man, I'd just be happy to be here, dude. I was having so many technical difficulties with this Clubhouse app, man. I don't know what was going on. But
it's
I
trying
made
to
it back
stop you.
in.
It's trying to stop us.
No, I know who it is. It's your brother Jobs. Your brother Jobs has jacked up my phone again.
See?
So listen, everybody, world changers, y'all go out there. Let's get this Skrilla together. I'm going to have a major announcement for y'all next week. So I'm prefacing y'all now for the major announcement. Everybody keep doing it big, keep changing the world. And I'm happy to be a part of this. Our little home here, our little think tank, and just grateful to have the opportunity to do what I did.
Thank you. Lisa, are you clear to come back? Let me see. I want to make sure I give you a chance. Say something. See, that's that Gerald conspiracy trying to block you off, Lisa. I'm not sure what it is. No worries. Drop it in the chat. That's a wrap, folks. Nonprofit heroes, nonprofit savants, nonprofit enthusiasts. We appreciate you guys. We've navigated the stormy seas of making those business choices between your nonprofit and your for-profit. At the end of the day, be intentional. Whether you're doing it with the 501c3 or not, you can still make a lot of impact in your communities. We've talked about the pros and the cons of being each, and I hope that you found some middle ground where you can continue to do the mission and do the work, because the work won't wait. You guys make sure you check me out for Monday Night Live this Monday at 7, where we'll be talking about all things brand building. And I think I got a new guest on Monday. I don't have my promo done yet, you guys, so I apologize. But if you go to nonprofitcheatcodes.com, or if you go to msibrands.com, you will see this week's episode of Monday Night Live. Thank you guys for being with us, and we will see you next week. Same time, same place. Go to nonprofitcheatcodes.com for a direct link. We will see you next time. Be great wherever you are, and be safe. We'll talk to you next time. This has been a Pep Talk Club production in conjunction with MSI Communications. Opinions expressed are of individual contributors.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.